the beauty of being a third speaker is that you learn from the earlier speakers. And that makes your work a little easier, you know. I think for the past, 2 weeks now, there's been a lot of talk about the exchange rate, the cedi, the dollar. Heated debate sometimes. Unfortunately, sometimes it ends up with the NDC MPP kind of thing, you know. And we need to escalate the discussion beyond MPP NDC. I think there are critical economic factors that are at play, and we need to explore that. We've been told that we moved away from a control regime long ago. Now we are in a market-driven economy. So the dollar, the rate at which the cedi exchange for a dollar, is determined by market forces of supply and demand. Now, before I go into that, you know, last week I went to Bank of Ghana to get some data, and I would like to talk around it. Can I have table 1? I don't know how you're going to screen it. The research department, they keep a tab on all the exchange rates on daily basis, but I picked end of year figures. Where is that now? I have the table here. But I want everybody to follow, so if it could be screened, you know, so that people will see what I'm talking about. It is a fact that the cedi has been depreciating against the dollar for a long time now. I'm just going to show you some numbers for the past 10 years. Starting from the year 2010, you have it in a chart form. I have it. Well, Mr. Penny had done a chart, you know. Yeah. 1 cedi, 45 pesos was going for a dollar. Then 2011, it went to a cedi 58 pesos to a dollar. Then 2012, it went to a cedi 88 pesos for the dollar. Then 2013, it went to 2 cedis 16 pesos for a dollar. Then 2014, it went to 3 cedis 20 pesos for a dollar. 2015, it was 3 cedis 79 pesos for a dollar. 2016, 4 cedis 20 pesos for a dollar. Then 2017, it went to 4 cedis 21 for a dollar. And then 2018, 4 cedis 82 pesos for a dollar. And end of year numbers. As you can see, it's been depreciating, except that the rate of depreciation has been different year from year. Why is it depreciated by only 1.3%, negative 1.3% in 2010? In the 2014, it depreciated by 32.5%. So if we were to draw a graph, as Mr. Peony had drawn, you see it's going this way, all the way, right? So the question is, why is it that the cedi is always depreciating against the dollar? And the answer is what I told you earlier, that the rate is determined by market forces of supply and demand. Now bear this little formula in mind as we go along. When demand exceeds supply, demand for dollars exceeds supply, you have the local currency depreciating. When you have demand equaling or equal to supply, the currency stabilizes. Okay? When you have demand being less than supply, the currency, local currency, appreciates. It's a simple I don't even call it economic fact. It's a common sense. When you have the the demand for the dollar exceeding supply, the local currency will depreciate. When the demand for dollar equals the supply, you have a stable local currency. On the other hand, when you have the demand being less than the supply, the local currency appreciates. So if our currency is depreciating, as I've just told you, I wish I had a table here so that you can follow what I'm saying. Then it means that our demand for Forex, or for the dollar, exceeds the supply. So why then? What we need to know is that what goes into demand for dollars and what goes into supply of dollars. Now, I'll start with the supply. How do we generate dollars? And again, I have another table here. Come in? Okay. I'll continue and then when you get it. First is strong export receipts. All right? When you export, then you generate foreign currency. What are we exporting as a nation? We're exporting gold. We're exporting cocoa. We're exporting crude oil. We're exporting non-traditional exports. And these are what generate foreign currency for this nation. So strong export receipts are very important in influencing supply of foreign currency. Then again, we have significant FDI, foreign direct investments, and portfolio inflows. Also, they bring in foreign currency. Just an aside, I think there's news items about some car manufacturing companies. I think the VW and Toyota and is it Renault or something? Latest is Suzuki. Wanted to come and establish what is it, car companies or assembling plants over here. I wish we would rather bring in companies that are assemble tractors and water pumps. You know, you find them more useful than. And that's not to say that car assembling plants are not needed here. Okay, so strong export receipts, then strong foreign direct investment and portfolio inflows. They also go to enhance our foreign exchange. And then we have seasonal foreign exchange inflows. And here I'm referring to the recent Eurobond issuance, portfolio inflows, like cocoa syndicated loans. All these bring in foreign currency, all right? So, and then you have, of course, Mr. Piani talked about it, strong macroeconomic stability. And here I'm referring to lower fiscal and current account deficits. If they are low, then you don't call on the central bank to be doing deficit financing. So they also help. Now, we know the factors that influence supply. I've just mentioned them. So what are the factors that affect demand? Factors that affect demand are imports. We have, again, I have a table to show you. Unfortunately, I don't have it here, but I can run you through the numbers. Table 2 is what I have here. Consistently from 2010, our imports far outstrip our exports. If you look at this, 2010, we have imports of $10.7 billion. We have exports of $7.9 billion, a shortfall there. 2011, $15.8 billion by way of imports, and by way of exports, $12.7 billion. All right? Then 2012, you have imports of $17.7 billion and exports of $13.5 billion. Again, a shortfall. 2013, imports of 17.6 billion, exports of 13.7 billion. 2014, imports of 14.6 billion, exports of 13.2 billion. 2015, imports of 13.4 billion, exports of 10.3 billion dollars. Then 2016, imports of 12.9 billion as against exports of 11.1 billion. 2017, imports of 12.6 billion as against, oh, okay, this is the only year that there was a difference. Imports was 12.6 billion, and then exports were 13.8 billion. 2018, again, imports of 13 billion as against, that's right, exports of 14.8 billion. When I checked, so from 2017 to 2018, we had more exports earnings than the imports. And when I checked, the reason was oil. I think we have, our oil fields are giving us a lot more than, 2016 we got $500 million from oil, 2018 1.5 billion, and then 2019 we anticipate or project 2 billion from oil because Jubilee, Tenfield, Tallow, and SGN fields are all online producing. So, but for the oil, we will still have recorded a deficit between imports and exports. So, we're importing more than we're exporting, and naturally, that deficit creates a gap. That creates a gap that has to be financed, and that weakens the local currency. So our import demands is one, and then rising external borrowing. We've been borrowing a lot, and not only are we servicing the coupon rates on those loans, but we also have to pay for the principal. All right. So I hear somebody or I heard somebody at pains to distinguish between a loan and a bond. To me, they are all borrowing. All right. The difference is a payment mechanism. In the case of a loan, you pay interest and the principal scheduled over a period of time. In the case of the bond, you pay the coupon value, but the due date you have to pay the whole lump sum. So either way, you have to pay anyway. They are debt, yeah. So whether it's a loan or whether it's a bond, they are all borrowing, they are all loans. So demand, external borrowing. Then forex demand by importers and corporate institutions. We keep inviting people to bring in foreign currency into the country to invest, foreign direct investment. They have to repatriate their dividends at the end of the year. I mean, every investor would like to have dividends in the currency in which he brought his investment. So you do get companies, foreign companies operating here, repatriating dividends on a yearly basis. And these are some of the demand factors. And we have our importers also bringing goods during Christmas and other occasions. They need dollars to be able to do that. And another factor that sometimes escapes us is speculation. I chair the board of a finance company, and I was discussing with Mr. Thompson recently. Ever since the Bank of Ghana did that cleaning job on banks, licenses of 2 banks were drawn, and then you have 5 banks also being collapsed into, CBG, Consolidated Bank, Ghana. Then the central bank comes to say, now we're turning the heat on savings and loans companies. So there've been heavy withdrawals from these institutions, savings and loans and finance houses. I chair board, so I know. The question is, where is all this money going? Finance houses don't deal with little savings and so on. They deal in thousands and millions. And the withdrawals are heavy. Of course, they're not going to keep those CDs in their rooms. Normally, a rational being would like to convert it into an asset that will appreciate in value. So he will either buy land or buy a house, or, as most people do, convert into dollars. So people are speculating that, well, if you close 2 banks and you've mobilized 5 others, then you're going to do the same to the savings and loans. So why don't I take my money, convert it into an asset? So I believe there's a lot of that taking place now. And of course, macroeconomic instability also is part of the demand factors. When you constantly having current account deficits, and you have rising inflation, these they trigger foreign currency flight from an economy, particularly when the U.S. also raises its interest rates. The investors would like to take advantage of that. So when your currency seems to be losing value, they will want to externalize their resources. So, to me, these are the factors that we need to be looking at, the factors that influence the exchange rate. And as I've said, they are supply factors and they are demand factors. Now, I'm not looking at, there are certain things we can do on an immediate basis, and there are certain things we can do on a long-term basis. The immediate basis is what the central bank has been doing, intervention. Right, we have reserves. Again, my table 3 talks about reserves and how many months imports it covers. The role of the central bank is to maintain the value of the local currency. So if the central bank has reason to believe that the city is misbehaving, then it has the responsibility to keep it stable. So occasionally it does that by intervening on the market. But that's a temporary solution. It's a first aid, if you might call it that way. On a more permanent basis, I think somebody talked about structural change in the economy. There's certain things we can do. I don't know how many of you have been to the Afram Plains. You climb the Kwao Hill, you descend TRC, between TRC and Udonkokrom. You have a flat land, very flat land, and you have this water streaming through the land. And all the water is going waste. Now, all that we need to do is to get some maybe irrigation pumps or so, pump this water onto the land. And we can crop 2-3 times maize and rice. Our rice import bill alone for a year is close to 1 billion cedis. And this is something we can do over here. So instead of importing, we can grow rice over here. We're importing beef, we're importing poultry. Can't we do that over here? If we were to have a handle over our food bill alone, we would have saved a lot of foreign currency. But now everybody is looking at the importing because it's easier, maybe it's more profitable. But on a long-term basis, I think this is where we should be looking at. We should be going to save the currency because there's no magic wand. It has to be addressed in an economic way. And that is, I believe, the solution that should be addressed. Short-term and a long-term solution to the problem. Thank you. I thought my table would be here so that you follow all that I'm saying. Oh, it's on the screen. Where is it? Oh, okay. Okay. So you see the import and export. That's table 2. Okay? You see the differences between we've been importing more than we've been exporting. So the numbers are there, you can see that. And then the table 3 shows you the gross international reserves. It's like our reserves as a nation. So when you export gold and cocoa, the proceeds are kept in offshore accounts for the country. And as and when they are needed, the central bank draws on it to stabilize the situation. So we have, as of 2018, 7 billion, but I'm sure by now it's gone down because of the interventions the central bank has made. So this is my contribution to the debate. Thank you very much.